but I believe that's something to look out for on their offense.
With some of the trouble they've had executing that strat in particular in the past, I'd be maybe a little bit surprised to see it again today, but either way, it is worth noting that this is Complexity's pick, as they are the top seed from the brackets coming into this side. So Liquid gonna have to make it work on Complexity's choice here, though. I can't imagine that Liquid is uncomfortable with Hollywood. A lot of teams choosing Hollywood and Gibraltar, and so far today in the top 8. So looking forward, looks like Torque might actually play that Sombra. Perhaps we'll get a chance to see exactly how that's supposed to work.
We'll see. They, as we said before, they do use it quite a lot, but they've had mixed success with it. It doesn't always work, but I mean, of course, Sombra really strong because of how quickly she can build up her ultimate. You go over, you hack one of those health packs, and you can just build up that EMP so quick, and then really before anybody else on the field is going to have their ultimate up, so you just go in strong, use the EMP, and get the rest of your team to follow you up and, you know, hope for that team wipe. But if we take a look in terms of what team composition we have out on the side of Team Liquid, well, it seems standard for the most part. AZK running that defensive tracer, which we've been seeing teams do quite a bit here on Hollywood and some of the other maps, and it's been working pretty well.
Yeah, we see them oftentimes flexing along the alley side on the opposite end of the building. They're closer to the spawn that Complexity is coming out of. A little bit of forward information. AZK already a little bit in the mix as Torque going straight at him with Tracer.
Go Complexity on their way to the first point, not using that Sombra. They have a Tracer instead this time. JKW charges in, ID to hang, both able to start this one off. Liquid with 3 picks in their favor. It is going to be a 5v3. Not much Complexity can do here. Just going to have to regroup. AZK able to clean up on a few. So Liquid getting first blood here as they're able to hold pretty strongly. Nicholas is actually going to make the switch over to May right off the bat. So it's something to keep an eye on now as Hardblue re-engages on to this point. And they'll just be steadily working their way in. Hardblue trying to melt down that D.Va slowly but sure. JKW is on the point. Mezzer is also getting quite hurt here. Needs to be careful. And you also have Nicholas, who's all over inside these guys in the staircase. Torque and Nicholas both able to pick up 2. Shake is going to take down AZK as well. That is 3 picks in favor of Complexity. And they are looking pretty strong to take this point here. A few players left from Liquid, but Torque is just going to be shredding through these guys left and right. And Complexity now will at least get a couple of ticks. I'm not sure if Liquid will be able to make it back to the point here.
They might be able to contest. It doesn't look like they're going to attempt it. Nope. They're going to have to hold immediately on the other side of that gate. Like you said, Nicholas switching to May, Torque switching to Tracer as they came out of the gate. Always liked seeing Nicholas on May. Lately he's been having a lot of great success, making very key plays. May's a character that is pretty much as good as the person playing it. She's very, very powerful, but you put a wall in the wrong spot and it all can fall apart.
May is still very strong. Despite being nerfed a little bit, can still be a huge impact player out there on the field. So Complexity looking to work in. Graviton Surge is going to come out right away. There was a self-destruct on the side of Liquid as well. That's a huge pulse bomb out from Torque, and he's able to pick up 3. The rest of Complexity Gaming is going to clean up on the card here, and that is a solid push in through the streets phase. Complete team wipe out from Complexity.
Well, that has got to be getting inside Liquid's head. Complexity here with 2 ultimates in the bank. They have an Earth Shatter and a Transcendence. We've seen a lot of kind of offensive use of Transcendence lately in the tournament. Meanwhile, Liquid with an Earth Shatter, a Sound Barrier, Nano Boost, getting very close to a Graviton and Attack Visor. They might have all the pieces they need to mount a defense here, but they're going to have to put a little bit more challenge on this card. There comes that Transcendence out of Shake.
Transcendence is out from Shake. JKW is going to throw the Earth Shatter down. He gets a fat 0 on that one. No, nobody's home to take it. The Graviton came out, but no follow-up on the side of Team Liquid. Used it, but that shield was still up. Nobody was around to get the players inside of it. And here we go. Complexity yet again able to get 3. Looking strong on this fight. They're down 2 themselves, but they're continuing to clean up on the players on this card. ID is the only one that's left there. Hardblue and Joe Meister able to take care of that one, and Rafa will be on the card, but should also be finished off. He's only a little baby D.Va. Not too much he can do. And Complexity off to a strong start here on Hollywood.
Liquid burning a lot of their ults and not getting a lot of A lot of action out of it. Meanwhile, Complexity holding another Pulse Bomb for Torque. Last time we saw huge effects coming out of that one. A Graviton for Hard Blue. I expect to see them connect to find at least another 2K here.
Trying to get back out was Liquid. They didn't make it to the cart in time, though. They let Complexity cap it, and they're just bleeding off players now. They're trying to get back in time, but we do see ID switching over to the McCree now, maybe to deal with Torque, who's been such a presence out here on the field. They want to try and deal with him as he can just get into the back line and really harass these guys. But we'll have to see. Rafa's also switched over to Zarya, but there is a whole lot of ultimates. Look at this, David. 5 ultimates up for Complexity right now.
You said it, 5. That's going to be a large presence as they move here into the final point. The Graviton landing on Liquid. 2 people going down as Complexity converts this into even more forward momentum. Make it 4 as Complexity pushes into the final point.
Oh, baby. Complexity just absolutely rolling right now on Hollywood. The Graviton, they got the Pulse Bomb off. Didn't get any immediate kills, but a whole lot of damage. And the rest of Complexity cleans up. There's nobody home from Liquid to try and stop this cap from coming through. And Complexity is going to get through all 3 points. 3 minutes and 35 seconds left in their time bank, and Liquid is going to have to come out strong here on offense, man.
Wow, Complexity definitely making their map choice work for him here. Here we see Harblue with that last Graviton setting up the final push. Complexity cleaning up all over Liquid at this point. 4 kills down, 5 right after that as they walked it in with 3.5 minutes left on the clock. That's going to be a tough situation for Liquid. They can't just get it done. They can't just get 3. They have to get 3 and change or mount an epic hold on defense.
Man, Torque was just doing work on Tracer, though. He had a huge Pulse Bomb in the middle of the Streets phase, able to pick up 3, which led to a Complexity team wipe, and you know, it was a menace out there for Team Liquid, as now they'll have to try and do something similar on their offense because Complexity has come out guns blazing. If we see what they're trying to work with on their defense for Complexity, they do have Torque on Tracer. If Liquid stays with this setup, they will have AZK on the Tracer as well. And interesting from Liquid, if they decide to stick with it anyway. We know these teams like to troll with us a little bit, but ID is on Pharah, and we have seen teams try that from time to time, not only in this tournament, but some other tournaments online. Teams have been trying to break out the Pharah a little bit as a surprise pick, hoping that maybe the defensive side won't have anything to deal with it, but if they do stick with it on Complexity, they have Torque on Soldier, who may be able to deal with him pretty well.
On Hollywood as well, historically, Pharah's always had a pretty good effect on the first point if enough space is made for him. Minstrel changing to Mercy here. That will be a Pharah Mercy combo. Kind of a half dive, perhaps, out of Liquid here. It really is a full dive, but it's not that 3 dive character we see a lot of the time in the past, or 3 DPS dives. But here we go. Winston, Diva, Mercy, Pharah. Still on it, and Tracer for the side of Liquid as they push in here. IID boosting right in the air, firing rockets into the backside, trying to clear off that second level that is all so critical here on the first point of Hollywood, and there goes in Winston.
Immediately trying to get onto Torque, who is inside of the cafe, and Rafa's already in on this high ground. There is a lot of damage onto the players of Complexity. 3 already going the way of Team Liquid, and Complexity in a lot of trouble here on the first point as the Pharah pick has paid off. ID with 2, and Rafa is just cleaning up on all that damage. ID was just flying around up in the air, just shooting down rockets. That is exactly what Liquid needed to do coming out of the gates on offense.
One of the key elements of a dive comp is just to kind of create that chaos, get the defense trying to look in too many different directions at once. Pharah adding verticality to the overall combat scenario. That makes a lot of sense. They're also able to take the high ground here, which is absolutely pivotal for the second point on Hollywood. Looks like Complexity recognizing that, trying to take the high ground back themselves. Pretty much spelled out that they have to do that given Pharah on the map. AZK holding a Pulse Bomb. Minstrel with a res. Diva, played by Rafa, has self-destruct.
Hardblue was down low forward. He was able to take down Minstrel, but he was quickly taken down after that. ID gets picked off. AZK is able to trade out, take down JKW, and they're going to continue moving this payload forward here. Liquid is, they are just pressing into these guys. Hardblue's caught out a little bit. He's able to take down Mezzer, get the hook in, and he will be able to meet up with the rest of his team now. But Liquid continuing to press that cart on forward. Minstrel, Mezzer, Rafa, and ID all have ultimates at the ready. You also have 4 on the side of Complexity as well. ID with that Rocket Barrage, and of course the Resurrect as well for Minstrel. So we'll have to see how this plays out. ID is just taking high ground for now, as you also see a few others. Some of these more mobile tanks are getting up on the high ground as well. ID is just going to sit in there. Was a self-destruct that came across, and Hardblue JKW starting it off for Complexity. AZK traded on 1, but still 5v4 fight in favor of Complexity. Now, even bigger advantage. They continue to pick up picks here. It's just AZK that's still hanging around in the streets. He'll back up to go meet with the rest of his teammates. As far as ultimates go, Liquid didn't really use too much there other than that self-destruct out of Rafa. And they're going to have ID, Minstrel, and Mezzer still with ults.
AZK also dropping the Pulse Bomb in that last conflict. So far, not a problem for AZK to use those as soon as he gets them. He is generating them incredibly quickly, given how much beef there is on Complexity. He has a lot of room to continue developing that, just spraying into the heads of a number of these tanks. Here's IID dropping that huge Justice, taking up 2.
There we go. The ID getting a pretty solid Rocket Barrage off there. Able to pick up 1 and got a lot of damage onto another, and he should be able to get Hardblue here as well. Yes, he's flying around relatively uncontested. And the picks are going the way of Liquid at the moment as they continue to press on forward. Minstrel has not had to use that Resurrect yet. He's hanging on to it, waiting for the opportune time. Complexity will have a lot of ults to come back out and defend this cart with, Liquid has a few that they're just about to come up on right now. There is Attack Visor out from Torque. So far, not finding all that much. Rafa gets shut down inside of... Oh, there's the Pulse Spot from AZK. Finding 2. Both of the supports. That is crucial for Team Liquid here, as Complexity coming back with a couple of their own. And here comes the... the Resurrection as well out of Minstrel. And JKW on the card gets finished off by ID, and here comes the Nano Boost onto Ferris. Those rockets are going to be supercharged, dealing a lot of damage. Look at that one shot onto Torque inside of jail. Joe Meister goes down, getting yet another one, taking down Hardblue. ID with a 3K, and that should secure this payload for Team Liquid on the second point.
Complexity getting very little out of their Nano Visor. Meanwhile, AZK with a Pulse Bomb. Both Tracers doing a lot of work in this last conflict here. AZK playing forward, gets a Pulse Bomb out on Reinhardt. Winston's going to follow it up. Mezzer always in behind his front line there, making sure that everything that they're doing is paying dividends. Rafa getting demeched, backing off as Team Liquid regroups here. They are down all of their ultimates, getting very close to a Primal Rage.
They're still moving along, not quite as good of a time as Complexity has. They won't have as much time in the time bank, but still a pretty good offense nonetheless. Complexity wants to try and play a bit aggressive here. They've moved all the way up to the cart, and there will be a Whole Hog coming out from Harb as he is blasting these guys back, just keeping them off the payload for now. Liquid is going to be looking to make their way back in. There are no ultimates up on the table at the moment. Minstrel, though, is coming up on the Resurrect. And poking around for the time being, JKW is going to get the charge in, and he will be up into the wall there. Nicholas, though, already able to find 2. Minstrel among those picks. Complexity with the player advantage, and Liquid's going to back off. The respawn's close, so they'll be able to take another fight here in just a minute, but 2 ultimates for the time being up on both sides, but Shake and Nicholas both about to have theirs on Complexity.
Complexity picking off Minstrel, making sure that big res didn't come out directly, and kind of a sketchy territory with so many people surrounding a res in that scenario can be devastating. A hook coming out, a big Earth Shatter, Pulse Bomb, self-destruct landing in behind, and there it goes, taking out AZK, JKW getting 2, and Nano Boost coming out on JKW. Huge res coming out of Minstrel.
There's the res from Minstrel. It is going to be a 5v5 fight here, and still scrapping it out. There is an Earth Shatter down from Mezzer, but he fell right after that. He got taken down, and Complexity's going to come out on top of this fight yet again here, it seems, as ID is still in. He's on McCree, but quickly shut down by Nicholas, who's just been cleaning up. And now Liquid is in a bit of a tough spot. They started off the map quite well through first point in the streets phase, and Complexity's able to hold up a pretty good defense here. Complexity's going to regroup and looking to take another fight on the payload in just a second as they continue to move forward here. Hardblue, there's going to be actually a High Noon in the back. ID able to get one with that was Nicholas, and 3 picks already in favor of Liquid. Complexity is going to have to back off, get these respawns. Even if Liquid caps, Complexity is going to have a substantially more amount of of time in their time bank.
You said it, 1 minute left on the clock for Liquid. Even if they do cap here, they will be in tough territory. With the last time Complexity capping so fast, Nicholas pressing all the way up here in the front. JKW, nano boosted, Earth Shatter coming out. Nicholas chasing, sorry, Rafa chasing down the enemy team. Bunny Blaster coming out from behind, and the self-destruct taking out Hardblue.
Destruct down on the point does get Hardblue, as you said, and Liquid trying to hold strong here. Mezzer gets finished off, though, and JKW, who's quite hurt himself, will finally go down to Dahang as he was able to finish him off. Liquid struggling to stay on this cart, though. Rafa is just trying to get in as much damage as they can. They need to get these reinforcements back quickly. There's only 25 seconds left, and Complexity's got their respawn right here, so it's going to be a tough one for Liquid to make this happen, but they're giving it a good shot nonetheless, as they do have bodies all over this payload at the moment. Earth Shatter coming down from Mezzer. The rest of Liquid's able to clean up here and finally capping it off with 10 seconds left. Complexity still has a lot more time than them in that time bank, but Liquid getting it done in the end.
We'll see in the replay IID's vicious justice from above, taking out JKW, setting up AZK to take out, setting up Rafa to take out Torque. Flying over the top, landing a few shots on Hardblue and sending him back to the spawn room. A lot of momentum for Liquid up until just before the second point, where Complexity was able to mount a pretty great hold overall. It lasted a little bit longer than you'd expect, especially not getting conversions for that nano visor. Nicholas playing Mei, he was playing D.Va quite a bit as well in this set. Been very consistent so far in our tournament. Hardblue at the very end also switching to D.Va to try and stall that point out. Complexity with the whole stall meta, doing a pretty good job. 2-minute advantage as we move into, I guess you would call it the third quarter here.
Yeah, I had Minstrel and ID look as though they want to stay on this Pharah Mercy combo. It's a bit of a throwback to some old meta, but they made it work pretty well, Liquid, through the first and second point there. As you were saying before, David, they struggled a bit on the third point push. Complexity mounted a solid hold there, but man, Liquid did storm through that first point on their attack, and they're looking to do the same here.
Liquid running that same dive with Mezzer on Winston, Rafa on D.Va, Minstrel and IED in the Pharah Mercy combo. Ana, AZK on Tracer Ana, played by Dahang, as they push in here for the point. They have 1 minute. Last time they came very close to that. If it went into overtime, they were on the point, so their chances don't look terrible, but Complexity playing a little bit forward, trying to make sure they don't get into that overtime situation. IID looking for some shots over the top, finding a few on JKW.
That's right. They only have now 30 seconds to work with. They trade 1-for-1 off the start here. Shake went down, so that's a support out of the mix for Complexity. JKW, though, following back, answering with 2 picks of his own. Complexity with the 1-player advantage. 15 seconds left for Liquid. They need to make something happen here, as no, Complexity is getting a lot of picks. ID going down at the end. Complexity looking strong on this hold here. Liquid's going to need someone to get back to the point quickly. There's only 5 seconds left and nobody's home. There's a Tracer coming around the backside in the alley. I don't know if he's going to be able to blink onto the point in time. AZK making it there. Rafa ejected out of his suit, though. AZK goes down. Rafa's got a hold. Lucio coming to the point. He gets on there. Minstrel holding on for now, but players dropping like flies from Team Liquid at the moment, as Hardblue is cleaning up on all these players. Complexity looking to hold on here, and now they will have all of the momentum. They just need to get the first point, and they have a hell of a lot of time to do so.
4 minutes, over 4 minutes for Complexity to make one assault onto the first point here. Hardblue replay. Saw a lot of him playing Zarya yesterday, sniping Pharah out of the air there. And also at the end, Pharah IID trying to come in over the top to put it in overtime, died borderline instantly. Streaming in with Liquid, just not enough to keep it alive for them to get that first point. Complexity, again, 4 minutes and 24 seconds here to get the cap on the first point. They will take the map if they're able to do this. They're looking good for it.
It's going to take a miracle hold out of Liquid if they want to keep this at an even score. But man, Complexity, with the way they were playing on their offensive push, it's going to be tough. And if you look at the defensive comp coming out from Liquid, they have Minstrel staying on Mercy. ID is playing Junkrat. And I mean, with Hardblue that's been playing Zarya, he's just going to be feeding his charge all day on Junkrat ID. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the pick. It's worth a shot, though, because they need to pull out some sort of a miracle here. Liquid, 4 minutes and 24 seconds for Complexity to try and take this first point. That's all they need.
Kind of a tricky spot for a trap mine there. Junkrat, certainly the thrown mine can be a gigantic problem for characters like Tracer, who have a lot of mobility, but trying to run away from an explosive can be a gargantuan task. Soaking a little bit of damage here on Reinhardt's shield as Team Liquid trying to hold to keep this first map alive. Complexity looking for their window, not jumping in too fast, perhaps trying to generate ultimates. They do have all the time in the world to generate those and dump them all at the same time, but they got to be careful with the ultimate economy. Jumping into the point here, a lot of conflict coming out.
Mezzer goes down first. That's not good news for Liquid. Torque is going to get inside a Cafe, onto ID, takes him down. It's a 6v4 fight already. Make that a 6v3. Minstrel going down inside of the Cafe. Complexity is just steamrolling through Liquid right now, and that should be enough for them to be able to take this point and win the first map. Heartblue just melting Mezzer, and that is going to be Complexity. Easy off the first push. They're going to take it, and they will grab up map 1 against Liquid.
Questionable pick there with Mercy. Giving up Lucio. Not sure I can agree with that. Mercy generally not really in the meta right now. Definitely not one of the top-ranked healers. Giving up Lucio in particular, an S-class, top of the line, pretty much a guaranteed pick most of the time. The only time I really see, most of the time, and something besides Lucio be like an Ana Zen combo. On a map like this, it can work, especially against a lot of tanks. You have that Discord to rely on, along with a Biotic Grenade, which can be utterly devastating for a lot of hit points. But Mercy, without more time to generate that Resurrect,
it's tough.
Just not as effective, but I see what they're going for here. It's a very strong hold. You need that kind of saving grace, especially if a tank or two goes down. If you have that res, you don't need the gigantic 5-man res. One or two on some very key characters can be a difference, but the amount of time it takes to generate that versus how much time Complexity gave them just didn't look like there was a chance to get it out.
We'll take another look at the Tracer play there at the end by Complexity as they're able to take map number 1 pretty well here over the top of Liquid.
Torque was so strong throughout Hollywood. I mean, he was just cleaning up guys left and right. Here you can see him getting 2 pivotal picks and finding the Mercy of all them, Minstrel, which is huge. When the other team is running a Mercy, that's one of the first people you need to focus down on fights. Of course, there he didn't have his Resurrect up yet because it was, you know, the start of the round. But still, in the past when teams would run Mercy during the Mercy Pharah meta, that was the thing you really had to focus on as the team that was attacking or defending. You just had to find that Mercy, and Torque taking care of that right away.
Absolutely, and I loved seeing the Fire Mercy combo come out there from Liquid, and it worked really well for them on the offense. But do you think that maybe they should have changed something up on their second offensive push when they had to play again in overtime? Was that the situation? Because it worked well. The Mercy worked well the first time, but then you're saying it wasn't as good on the second to go around. Was Complexity ready for him? Like, what was the situation?
I mean, the Mercy is really there to mostly augment Pharah in that instance, keep her alive. As when she's up in the air, she can be a gigantic force to reckon with as long as she has stable healing. Mercy being one of the better healers for that, the best healer for that combination, especially because she can damage boost Pharah, which makes her so much more effective overall. But I would question a little bit doing it for a second time. With 1 minute left, that is kind of a risk to take, on top of the fact that Complexity had already seen it. So they can make those adjustments, whatever caught him the last time. They know to look up in the air, who to target first, perhaps ignore that, go press forward through the back line. There's a number of different ways to answer it. It certainly didn't work out for Liquid. Complexity, not even using the entire amount of time they needed, just push right onto that. Junkrat going down to Tracer, something that could be a mismatch in some instances. If you get caught in a trap or you catch that mine with a little bit of damage, it's a problem. Otherwise, Junkrat's definitely a sitting duck in that scenario. You dodge a few grenades, unless there's some sort of backstop, which I'm pretty sure pros are pretty used to the bouncing of the grenades, but sometimes they can come up and catch you from behind. But mostly, just a lot of targets for Torque to really annihilate in that situation. He did get every single one of them that was available to him coming in from the backside. Just a huge play from Complexity, taking off the first map in our semifinals here. They are 1 up over Team Liquid. We are now on Gibraltar. Team Liquid starting out on defense, Complexity on offense.
And this is Liquid's map choice. They wanted to take this to Gibraltar, so see what they bring out on the defensive side. ID will be on Mei, and it looks like we have a pretty tanky setup. It's a triple tank Mei. Yeah, you could consider a bit of a tank if you know, some people can kind of throw her into that category, but that is what they're choosing to throw out here on their defensive side. First, on Gibraltar, Complexity is up 1-0, and they had to work on that Sombra, but it looks as though he is going to be switching to Tracer, which is, I mean, I'm absolutely fine with, because he has been just cruising through Liquid thus far on Tracer, so Complexity will also have the offensive Mei, and Shake is playing Zen instead of Ana, as he has been playing quite a bit of Zen recently. So let's see how Complexity decides to take this offense here first. Torque is working his way up, will immediately put himself across the way on the high ground, dodging that hook as well. Didn't quite connect. And they'll just be working that card up, and then you should see Torque go in and try and get onto some of these supports, possibly. But so far it's been pretty slow play. Just trying to gather up the team, get the card up there, and they're immediately starting to work their way into the server room as well. Oh, that's a big hook from AZK, starting it off for Liquid. Nicholas goes down, so that will halt this push on the side of Complexity. They'll have to back up, wait for him to meet up with the team. Still, it's the start of the round. No harm done for Complexity.
Torque still looking for some harassment on the other side. Just trying to keep Team Liquid on their toes. Most Complexity on the top of Gibraltar here, waiting for the rest from Torque. Linking into the back line, that's going to be a problem here as this second engagement comes out. Nicholas still alive, Mezzer getting isolated.
So the wall is going to be up and should be taken down. ID to hang, fall, AZK out of it as well. Complexity already with 4 in their favor. It's a 5v1 now, as it's just Minstrel, an absolute team wipe on the side of Complexity. And they come out strong on that second push, and they'll be able, might be able to cap first here. The guys from Liquid are making their way back. I don't think they're going to get there in time, though.
No, they're going to have to mount a hold around the bridge at the second point unless they play forward. They are starting to play a little bit forward. AZK getting a pull on Harblue. Harblue surviving. Complexity starting to wrap around Mezzer, looking for that isolation again. A Transcendence coming out of Shake.
That Transcendence, and a lot of the Liquid guys are inside of the staircase at the moment. Harblue with the Graviton at the ready, but 2 already going the way of Team Liquid now, and Harblue's in a bit of trouble himself as AZK is trying to hunt him down, and Liquid getting a solid defense through the second phase of Gibraltar here. Complexity has to go back to the drawing board. They'll have 3 ultimates ready for this next push. Harblue with the Graviton, JKW, Earth Shatter, and Torque with that Pulse Bomb. So look for potentially that Pulse Bomb Graviton combo.
This can be a difficult point to get through if you don't keep momentum after the first point there. The cart already through, being a little bit separated. That from does deprive a little bit of healing. It can always add up. Can be a big deal occasionally, but in the meantime, Liquid actually backing off, letting Complexity through that front gate. Graviton coming out, catching Harblue and the rest of Complexity into this. IID, only one of the Graviton in the back. Nicholas going down as Liquid mounts another defense. 4 down for Complexity. Torque trying to get away. AZK patrolling those front doors. A whole hog. Sound barrier and nano boost. Earth Shatter very close here for Mezzer. Team Liquid almost 4 in the bank. Meanwhile, Complexity with only an Earth Shatter very close to a sound barrier. So far, I've liked what Complexity has done with this comp over the past few days. Torque switching off of Tracer into Soldier 76. On this second point, that makes a lot of sense. Tracer can be a problem, but right now, with some of the avenues that you have to get in on Tracer, she is a little bit weak for those pulls. AZK on Roadhog can always take her out, along with Rafa. Just always a problem when you're playing Tracer to get in on somebody when they're getting those shields thrown on them.
Here we go. There's going to be a sound barrier and a nano boost out as, getting Earth Shattered in the middle of his sound barrier. JKW goes down after using it, though. Rafa cleans up there, so it's a 6v5 in favor of Liquid at the moment. Rafa finds 2, and that will be 3 the way. Make that 4 the way of Liquid, as now they are just getting wiped off the map. Rafa with 3 kills in the middle of that fight, and Liquid, rough start at the beginning, but they have really found themselves through this hangar phase of Gibraltar.
Complexity getting pretty close to attack visor. They already have a Tranquility and a Blizzard in the bank. Harblue halfway to a Graviton. They are up in the economy situation, but Liquid so far mounting a few pretty successful defenses. Complexity trying to attack through the high ground. This will be an element of the shield game as they engage each other on top of this bridge. Liquid moving into the health pack room.
And here comes the Transcendence out from Shake, keeping his teammates nice and healthy. There was a sound barrier from Minstrel on the side of Liquid as well. Tac Visor comes out. Complexity in a 6v4 advantage, though. Make that 6v3 as Torque takes down to hang. So Complexity now finally making their push in. They had a slight ultimate advantage going into the fight, and they will just be cleaning up the rest of the players on the cart, and that will allow them to move things forward here. Liquid should be able to make their way out for one last hold on this as they just get all their reinforcements together. Mezzer has an Earth Shatter at the ready. Rafa and ID, maybe even AZK and Dahang could get their ultimates in the middle of this fight. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Hard Blue with the Graviton ready as well. He will put them into that Graviton. Mezzer charges through. There's no shield in front of these guys on Liquid, and the Blizzard comes out as well from Nicholas, and an Earth Shatter on top of that. And it is going to be Complexity. There it is. 3 picks already. Shake with 2. And the rest of Complexity combining to pick up all of those frags. They will grab second point. Liquid getting plowed through there.
Shake doing work on that last point. Hanging in the back as all of Team Liquid dropped in. Only Minstrel was able to contest the cart from that very cleverly placed Graviton from Harblue, pulling the entirety of Liquid off of the point, hoping they could actually cap it anyways, which caused a very difficult problem as they die and start respawning and get a lot of territory out of it, because not only have they capped to move the cart forward, but they still have a long way to go. But Shake hanging in the back, getting 2 kills to support his team. Liquid trying to hold on top of the cart right now. Complexity still looking for their angle, and they are going to have to back off here. JKW going down. Hard to push onto the cart without a Reinhardt shield for sure.
3 ultimates will be up for Complexity on the next fight. Torque, Joe Meister, and Shake. The 2 support ultimates, a lot of sustain, but Liquid themselves should have 2 support ultimates for the next fight, so should be just about even in the ultimate game. Complexity looking to actually go all the way up high. There was a nano boost, and a Graviton will come out on the side of Liquid. There's a Transcendence in the middle of it, but a Biotic Grenade landed on all of those players, so it's going to be tough for them to stay sustained here as Mezzer's already finding 2, and that's a 6v4 in favor of Liquid, and there is Rafa cleaning up onto Shake. So Liquid making a good defense there. Torque gets pulled in, and AZK will give him the old 1-2 as Liquid holds on yet again. There's only a minute left for Complexity to finish out this cap.
Both teams using a number of ultimates there. The sound barrier not enough out of Joe Meister to keep Complexity from going down. A Biotic landing on top of that, causing a lot of problems. They do have Graviton from Harblue on the table, getting very close to a Blizzard. Nicholas being deadly on Mei lately. That could combine into a number of kills that Complexity could convert into the next point. Here we go as the Graviton comes out.
Oh my, there's a Blizzard there as well. Nicholas goes down. It's 2 already in favor of Liquid. JKW strikes back to take down his enemy Reinhardt Mezzer, but Liquid is the one who's getting the last laugh here as Torque inevitably getting taken down, and ID's just been sitting in the back pumping out damage. There's a decent bit of ultimates used from Complexity, the Graviton and the Blizzard, and Complexity will have one last shot to get this card as far as they can. Liquid won't have a whole lot of ults to use in this fight though. AZK is the only one with his up at the moment. He's got the whole hog, and Complexity trying to make their last dash attempt. JKW getting the Biotic Grenade on him. That whole hog from AZK just eats him alive, and they have traded 1 for 1. It's a 5v5 fight. Transcendence coming through from Shake as well. He's on the cart, but there's not really many Liquid players around. They're finally starting to make their way back in here as ID takes down Shake. That will be a couple in favor. There's 2 from ID. Gets Hard Blue as well. Complexity striking back, but they need to get on this cart. They need to start finding picks. There's a big Earth Shatter out from JKW, charging Rafa into the wall. He gets put to sleep though, taking a nap on the job, and there's Mezzer using his Earth Shatter, put into a freeze by Nicholas in the middle of it. 3 picks for Liquid there, and they will shut it down, holding strong on the 3rd point. And now they will move on to the offensive side, but very solid from Liquid through the latter half of Gibraltar there.
Complexity not getting around that final corner could be a problem to come back and haunt them. Here is that Graviton that really stopped Liquid, or stopped Complexity in their tracks. Sound barrier coming out, still not enough. A Tranquility as well, and yet Complexity still goes down at the end of this fight. That's just a huge imbalancing factor when it comes into the ultimate economy. The Complexity have been doing pretty well, keeping it in their advantage up to that point. Liquid managing to throw Complexity off their game on that final point here. You can see exactly how far that cart pushed. That is a dangerous place for Complexity, as Liquid, as long as they get to the 2nd point, have fairly good odds to get there with enough time on the clock. They're going to have to hold them underneath the bridge on the 2nd point, or better yet, from the server room to start out, because I can't see Liquid not taking it there.
You would love to see it. Well, Complexity would love to see that at least, but you will be seeing so far out of the gate here. ID's flashing a bit of Sombra. I'm going to assume that isn't going to hold, but who knows? Maybe Liquid's been working on some Sombra strategies. And AZK for now is showing a bit of Reaper, but let's take a look at what Complexity has coming into the defense here on Watchpoint Gibraltar. As Harblu will continue to be playing on Zarya as he has been recently. Nicholas staying on the Mei, and Torque will be back to Tracer. He wasn't quite as effective as he was on Hollywood through Gibraltar there, but still, he can be a massive impact player for Complexity when he is out there wreaking havoc on Tracer.
Nicholas, Torque, and Harblu, so far a deadly combination on these three characters. Nicholas working a lot with JKW as well, as we've mentioned in the past. Joe Meister and Shake. That team wouldn't be as successful without supports like that. Shake playing a lot of Zenyatta, which I like to see lately. Dahong still staying on Ano. You can see each team's preferences for healers in the current meta. Certainly against the number of tanks Liquid has to go against in this situation, Zenyatta's Discord will come in big. AZK floating around the top line. Complexity trying to hold here on the first point.
Both teams enjoying the Mei picks recently, it seems, as ID is actually playing the offensive Mei this time as they're starting to take the fight. Liquid wants to take this, or excuse me, Complexity wants to take this fight a little bit earlier here. They're moving in through the underpass. That wall is going to go up, though. This could be very dangerous for Complexity as they are all trapped in, and look at that, the wall. They couldn't go anywhere. ID's able to find two. Rafa takes down Harblu as well. That was a big wall from Liquid. ID specifically on the Mei. It just trapped all of the Complexity players down in that low ground. They had nowhere to go, really, than out the side in the stair room, and they're quickly going to get wiped out. They're trying to come back in and hold onto this first point if they can. Mezzer does have an Earth Shatter, which he uses. Look at that. He finds two already. Make that three for Mezzer. Rafa and AZK cleaning up, and Liquid already steamrolling through the first point here on Gibraltar.
Complexity, perhaps a questionable situation pushing under that bridge with a Mei on the other end as that wall showing up huge. Taking hard to say it's a play out of Complexity's playbook. We've seen Complexity do it quite a bit, isolating JKW, IID, putting that wall behind him, Biotic landing on him shortly after that, and as soon as that Reinhardt goes down, it's just domino effect.
It's a pretty dangerous fight for Complexity to take. Oh, there's the hook in on Nicholas. AZK giving him the 1-2, but that was dangerous for Complexity to push so far up on that defense down into the low ground when they knew ID was on Mei. I mean, they should know that they can get trapped down in there, and it can be quite dangerous. I mean, Complexity had a Mei as well, so they could have done the same thing right back to them, but I think Liquid was in a bit of a better place to do that. Torque throwing off his pulse bomb to no avail, though, as he's up on this high ground, just in the back line of Liquid, trying to wreak as much havoc as possible. There is a nano boost coming out from Dahang. Complexity, though, is already able to find two. Rafa gets JKW to trade back. It is a 5v4 in favor of Complexity at the moment, though, and Torque finally finishing off Dahang as he is still just wreaking havoc in that backline, and the rest of Complexity is going to pick up on the kills, so they will hold on here for now. As far as ultimates go, Harblu and Nicholas, Joe Meister and Torque, even Shake is going to be up on a nano boost soon, so there's a lot to work with coming up in this next fight for Complexity.
Meanwhile, for Liquid, there is a Blizzard, Whole Hog, and a Graviton. Probably expecting the Graviton Blizzard combo at some point, as that can be utterly devastating. Pulling all the team members into one place and freezing them, pretty much guaranteeing you can take them all down with as many as you can get.
Oh my, that was
Graviton coming out onto Complexity.
Great wall from Nicholas, and JKW already starting this thing off. Look at that, too, from JKW, Nicholas and Torque. Going to pick up a couple more themselves, and Dahang might go down at the end, but that was an excellent first wall from Nicholas. If you saw it, he split them as they were trying to come in through the high ground, right in this room that you see here, as he put that wall up as Liquid was starting to work their way in, separated those players, and the Graviton came through, and JKW and company just cleaned up on all those players, so Complexity having a pretty solid hold thus far through the hangar phase. It's Liquid working their way back in here onto the cart. Torque will get the pulse bomb off. Good shield from Rafa, though, to make sure his tank Mezzer stays nice and healthy. And here comes a nano boost as well out onto Harblu. There's a Blizzard, a chorus of ultimates being used here. JKW going down to Dahang, and Dahang's actually able to get two there. Finds Joe Meister as well. The big Ana plays out from that man right there. Liquid finally starting to get their ground a bit as they move that cart forward. It's just Harblu up there on top on the catwalk. He should be going down shortly. Rafa will take care of that, and Liquid have made their way through to the second checkpoint. 3 minutes to get the rest. see there's so many ultimates used in this fight. Blizzard, Gravitons, Nano Boosts, and in the end, Liquid coming out on top of it.
Something extra amusing about seeing a Lucio go down, Joe Meister in that situation from a sleeping perspective of Rafa.
Now it's going to be Complexity. They have to make a big stop here. That is a massive Earth Shatter out from Mezzer as he's going to go in, just hammers swinging away. And now that's Liquid already picking up 2. Make that 3. They're looking good to cap this one off and send it into a third map. And there it is, folks. Liquid coming out big on Gibraltar. Their pick after going down on Hollywood, now taking Gibraltar. Tied up, man, 1-1.
Man, what a play there from Liquid as they're able to tie it up 1-1, as you said. 3-2 is our final map score on Gibraltar. And I want to talk about Mezzer. This guy was a huge part of their defense and their defensive hold to keep them from getting that final point, which we've seen many teams not be able to get around that final bit on Gibraltar. And then that huge Earth Shatter at the end, big part of why they were able to win there.
That was huge. He came in through that little side room there. I'm not sure what specific name it has, but he came through there. Just a huge Earth Shatter. I think he got at least 4 or 5 inside of that, and then from there, the rest of them cleaned up. Look at this. Comes out the side. I think there's 3 down there, but still, he's just hammering away. And the rest of Liquid coming through to clean up on that one. And he really did shine throughout that map.
Like we mentioned before, Complexity not getting around that final corner, coming back to haunt them pretty much as soon as they give up that second point. That's a virtually guaranteed situation with how much time there was left on the clock. But Liquid getting it done very, very quickly after that.
Yeah, and it's not only is it a huge thing because you have the advantage if you make that final point, you win it, you don't have to go into overtime. But everyone knows how to set up on that corner, but I don't think many teams have practiced setting up in front of the corner. You know, we've seen a few times now where teams will get the stop on that corner, and then when they come up on the offense, the other team is not even in a position to keep them away from their final point. They're still defending the ultimate final point, you know? And so, like, do they need to make a difference there? Is there something different that Complexity could have done here on the final point to hold it off?
I mean, you like having high ground. It's always a good thing. As you come around the corner there, you have some high ground. I think it's generally where teams will set up, and it's where they like to go on the defensive side, because obviously high ground, right? That's a great thing. But overall, I think in that game you just saw Liquid. They picked the map they were comfortable with, which is apparently Gibraltar, and they really came out and shined and sent this into a third map.
Really, the Mei pick starting to surface itself there as a huge balancing factor into their fight. Certainly a large factor in the first point. But I got to say, I mean, as far as your question of mounting a defensive hold in front of that corner, I mean, you're kind of in the open. You don't have as much hard cover. You can use the room to the left from the defensive side. You can use the high ground, but it's not nearly as stable as being able to back up around that corner using the bridge above it, as we've seen a number of times. Perhaps trying to dump a number of ults, which they didn't have in that situation, a combination that could wipe it all, and then trying to use the cart as perhaps some kind of hard cover, but that's going to rotate backwards. It's just not an ideal situation. They really just needed to make sure it got around that corner to begin with, or make their hold on the second point, or perhaps the first point, but Complexity wasn't able to make that happen, and Liquid pushing into round 3. They're pushing into a game number 3. We'll be going to Nepal. For our third match, we'll be going to a control point map. And another player I just kind of want to point out as we move into this map, ID has been playing so many different characters. He's played Junkrat, Zarya, McCree, and Mei so far. Not even sticking to one particular category, very much flexing around. How are you feeling about ID right now?
He's a very versatile player, and he's been doing quite well, specifically on Gibraltar there. He had a couple of big plays on Mei through there, and from what we see thus far as the compositions are starting to form, it looks like he's looking to stay on Mei as well, which is particularly really good on this stage of Nepal. So far, Complexity is not showing a Mei themselves. There it is. Nicholas is going to switch over. Mei is quite strong here, can almost block off a whole side of the point. So, as far as the rest of the picks, we will be seeing Roadhogs out. Well, Hardblue was thinking about it. AZK, at least, on the side of Liquid, will be running the Roadhog. And Rafa on Zarya.
Somewhat of the standard comp we've seen Complexity running lately. Torque on Tracer, Hardblue on Zarya, JKW, Reinhardt, Nicholas back on Mei, Joe Meister pretty much always on Lucio. Shake, Zen, we've seen a lot of that from him lately. Complexity taking the high ground away from Liquid. Liquid using the objective to counter on the other side, putting up a shield wall, making it difficult for Complexity to attack him forward. Both Mei walls coming out.
They were both going to be on the point. Charging through was JKW. So far not finding anything. He actually got the biotic grenade on himself. So AZK is easily able to take care of that pick because he can't receive heals. And Liquid looking pretty solid on this point already. They're so close to capping it off, but Complexity wants to try and contest. Doesn't matter though. Liquid will inevitably get the cap. ID takes down Torque. And Nicholas will strike back and pick up one himself. ID already with 2 here on May as he's making his presence felt. Liquid for now is in control of the point. Complexity has a lot of guys around here. They look as though they want to come back in. ID shuts them out though. They won't be going anywhere anytime soon. Hang went down, so Complexity may have a slight advantage coming into this fight here. Shake is already going to be using that Transcendence to make sure that they can try and solidify this point. ID will be in there, just stalling as best as he can, and that's great. Just racking up those percentage points. Complexity will be taking the point back. Liquid getting 34 off the start.
One thing to note while you're watching Nicholas there, he was turning his Maywall sideways and putting him in the opening of that door. You may be asking yourself why. Because ID can't block them out at that point. Taking up that space with his own Maywall prevents ID from locking them off from the point, keeping them in the fight, keeping them away from the delays that could have allowed Liquid to extend their lead even further. Interesting little tricks that also works in some of the other maps. We'll talk about that when we see him. A huge Graviton coming out, 3 caught in it. Liquid losing 2, Mezzer on the ropes. Mezzer's going to go down as well.
There we go, 3 already from Complexity. There was Liquid coming back with a couple of their own, but it doesn't matter. They lost 5 guys inside of that fight, and they will stagger Rafa late. Torque, I believe, got 3 in total on that engagement, showing his big tracer plays yet again, and Complexity is now taking the lead as far as percentage goes, and they will be in control of the point for now. Nicholas has that Blizzard.
Maywall locking out Liquid. Liquid with 4 ultimates in the bank. Nano, Graviton, we actually, hold on, Blizzard coming out of Nicholas. AZK is going to go down first. Mezzer being followed up. JKW, Harblue in the mix. JKW going down.
Blizzards on both sides and the sound barrier out from Liquid as well. They're down 2 already in this fight, and they're trying to work their way back into it. But Complexity is still just picking up these frags. Torque specifically is still going off on Tracer. That's 2 for him. I believe 3 in total on the fight. And Complexity will stay in control of the point, and they're going to be at 75% and counting. Liquid is only going to have probably 1 more good shot at trying to take this point.
We've talked a lot about Harblue in the past and how pivotal he is for Complexity, but Torque so far, every time he's touching Tracer, he's just coming up big with so many different picks. This Maywall here again from Nicholas, just providing a little bit of an angle for Tracer to get a view on everybody. Liquid trying to take the high ground, pushing into the point, see if they can retake. 8% left for Complexity to take this first stage.
There we go, there is a wall down. Mezzer uses his Earth Shatter, was only able to find Shake, but that's a pretty crucial pick. As Shake goes down, he may have been able to get his Transcendence towards the end of that fight. Torque has already found 3 inside of this final fight on the points, and the rest of Complexity will be cleaning house there as they will be able to take the first stage on Village here on Nepal.
Nicholas's walls, just absolutely a huge problem for Liquid. Torque, obviously. Expecting this replay. Yeah, here it is. Torque taking Zarya out of the air, going in with a pulse bomb on May immediately afterwards, chasing down the rest of Liquid as Dahong goes down. May not actually falling to that, probably ice blocking ID. Going down to Torque. Inevitably, one of the powers of Tracer. You start doing damage, you see something happen, a shield, an ice block, or whatever. That's cool. Disengage, blink someplace else, find a new target eventually. As long as you keep rotating, you're going to be such a problem for the enemy team that you'll eventually find your picks, or your team will follow them up and find them for you. Either way, that distraction is just too much to handle a lot of time, especially apparently when it's in the hands of Torque.
Torque continuing to be a huge presence for Complexity. And even through this control point phase of the match. This is map 3. And as both teams trying to get their spot in the grand finals. And look at this, AZK going straight into Shake. That's a great way to start it off if you're on the side of Liquid. And he's putting a lot of damage out in Harblue as well. He has to expel his shield, and AZK will just continue to wreak havoc. He wants a little piece of Harblue there, finally finishing him off, and now he was targeting Joe Meister. And look at this, going to get JKW as well. AZK playing a big part in 3 picks already for Liquid. And that should allow them to take this control point first here, and AZK starting off quite strong, and he's going to have a pulse bomb soon as well.
Along with a nano boost for Dahong, Complexity getting pretty close to their own pulse bomb. Other than that, not much on the board. Liquid holding the point here on the second stage of Nepal. Complexity coming in from the left side. They are going to mount their attack right now. Here comes Complexity onto the point. AZK in from behind. He's going to be taking fight to JKW here. JKW in a tough place. He's going to go down.
Oh, goodness. 4 down for Complexity. Rafa, Mezer, AZK. Torque is still in it. He's trying to pick up a couple more if he can, but AZK is all over Hard Blue right now, trying to prevent him from getting the health back. Couldn't quite get him in time. Doesn't matter, though. Liquid got all the picks that they needed, and they will stay in control of the point. 40% and counting. ID's got a whole hog at the ready, and Mezer will have an Earth Shatter as well. If you're on the side of Complexity, you have Pulse Bomb charging up, an Earth Shatter, maybe even a Blizzard here soon as well. Pulse Bomb's going to come out. Shield got put onto Mezer, though, so that won't do all that much. The Earth Shatter in from Mezer. Speak of the devil. Ooh, there was a hook from ID. He's got the Biotic on him, though. Finished off by ID, and now it is just Torque running around on point and wreaking havoc. Mezer with 2 himself. It is going to be 3 down for Complexity. Not looking all that good. The sound barrier did come through from them to try and take this point back. Liquid's already at 70%, and Complexity really needs to come up big here. Joe Meister able to finish him off, and Torque is just running around doing whatever he wants on this point. Complexity finally coming out on top of that fight, and they will get it for the first time on this stage, and it's still Liquid with 80%.
They will potentially have to mount a full hold here as Liquid maybe one turn on the point, and they'll be able to take this in. They do have 3 ultimates in the bank. Complexity also with 3 pulse bombs on either side. However, a Graviton on the side of Liquid, that is going to give them an advantage. Liquid coming in, Rafa throwing out his, there he is, the pulse bomb. Does it convert?
Bomb. Look at that, though. It did quite a bit of damage. AZK, Mezer, and Rafa all able to get some. Liquid coming back with a vengeance onto this point. JKW comes back with 2. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. He used the Earth Shatter right at the end. He could have saved it for this final fight, just desperation. There was no one else around to follow up on that Earth Shatter. He easily could have been using it in this upcoming fight. They should be able to make it back in the dying seconds.
Now Liquid, all they have to do is keep Complexity off this cap, and they will tie up this map, keeping their hopes alive.
Oh, here we go. The counter Earth Shatter out from Mezer. There was a big Biotic Grenade. JKW able to find 2 already. Look at this. Minstrel and Mezer both down as JKW starting this fight off strong. ID strikes back, though. Biotic Grenade will land on a Hard Blue, but he's got a shield to help dispel that one. Liquid striking back with a couple of picks of their own, but Hard Blue finds the hang, and they are just going back and forth on this point as Complexity desperately needs to regain control. Looks like they will be able to, but they need a full hold here until the end if they want to take this round.
Liquid particular on the fence. If they aren't able to take this Black, and Complexity takes it, they will lose the series. Torque with a pulse bomb in the chamber. Meanwhile, Liquid with their own pulse bomb and a nano boost. Everybody else side IID pretty low here. Rafa definitely going to be trying to generate his Graviton as soon as he can. Pulse bomb coming out on a Mezer. Mezer's going to go down. That's going to be a huge problem for Liquid.
It's a big pulse bomb in from Torque. They have the 1 player advantage immediately, and Liquid looking to back off, though. Minstrel may go down. That's a nice bubble. Torque continuing to follow up, though. I love the aggressiveness out of Torque to stagger that spawn a little bit. Complexity slowly but surely working their way up with those percentage points. They're at 75 right now. Liquid's only going to have 1 more good shot at trying to take this point back. If Complexity gets it, they will be moving on into the finals. So this is a very crucial fight here. It's going to all come down to this. Who can make it into the finals? You have a nano boost at the ready for it to hang, and here it comes. He's going to use it on ID, who has the whole hog. The sound barrier out from Complexity. There was an Earth Shatter in that as well. JKW starts it off by getting Minstrel. That is a pivotal pick for these guys. The Graviton in as well. 2 frags aside as they continue to duke it out here. ID pulling in the tank, but no, that pulse bomb from Torque takes down ID, and there's a lot of players down on both sides, but it seems as though Complexity holding strong on the point. You have AZK, who's just trying to buy some time, let his teammates come and get back onto the point. He is starting to slowly regain control, but Nicholas hitting a big headshot with the Icicle, taking down AZK. Now there's going to be a Blizzard out onto the point as well from Nicholas. Complexity starting to get 3 picks here. It's looking bad for Liquid. They may be going home here in just a second. Indeed, they will be. Complexity ending it there, finishing it off 2-0 on Nepal. They will move into the finals.
What a nail biter. That was a long overtime.
Yeah, it was.